All right, I have returned. Oh, interesting. So, I guess this is fine. I was messing around with the the waveform visualizer, but they are separate ones on different scenes. Okay, that's fine. Anyway, I think it's white is better here. I think having the contrasting color is better on the other screen anyway, because it has like a background. Uh, anyway, let's commit what we have so far, I think. And what do we have so far? What do we have since the last commit, right? So we have some logging in our enemy script. We have um, we refactored out a function for placing the obstacle and added some to-dos and so on. And then an obstacle, we actually hooked up the creating the obstacle, the navigation obstacle, in the obstacle script. And then some stuff changed in the scene. Oh, we set no friction on the physics material for the obstacle. We changed the agent radius for the navigation mesh, and we tweaked the collision mask, and we've turned on this debug. So the thing I could do is have like a general debug setting, and then toggle this on the navigation agent. So the reason I'm thinking of this, right, is because, well, I mean, nah, let's not overthink it. If this was like some big complicated game, um, that would be a thing where, oops, we forgot to turn this thing off, right? But it'll be pretty obvious. Yeah, something like that. Okay, so I think the last thing I really want to do for this branch, obstacle placement, is we'll implement rotation. Yeah, we'll implement being able to rotate the obstacle, and we'll just do like 90-degree turns. I think is just what I want to do for these things. Um, yep, just like pondering that for a second. But yeah, I think so. So how? Well, it's probably just going to be in our main script. We have a bunch of stuff where we're handling input. So we have like camera movement input stuff. And then we're doing this rotation stuff. I think what do I think? So I can think of two different ways of doing this. One would be yeah, I think two broad categories, right? So one is I have just a general rotate left and right key. Right, like right now I've defined these actions, these names, as being camera rotate left, camera rotate right. So if I just change it to rotate left, rotate right, then I make it contextual, right? So I make it so that if there is a placeable obstacle, then we rotate the obstacle. Otherwise, we rotate the camera. Um, the other thing I could do is I could have separate inputs for like obstacle rotate left and obstacle rotate right. And then I just add additional conditions. So if action just pressed one or the other, then we can do the same sort of logic, but to the placeable obstacle if there is a placeable obstacle. Because sometimes this is, in fact, most of the times this is null, right? I think somewhere in the middle, and the thing that I think I mentioned before the break would be to say, if there's a placeable obstacle, then check those conditions for rotation, and only consider rotating the camera if there isn't a placeable obstacle. Essentially, potentially making it so that you could bind the inputs to different keys, maybe by default having the keys bound together so that rotating the camera or rotating the obstacle is the same set of keys. And then based on whether or not you're trying to place something, you're allowed to rotate the camera or not. I think I can envision a scenario where you're trying to place an object and you can't see exactly where you're trying to place it, and so you go to rotate the camera, but you can't. But you can't because you're in place object mode, and so you have to like, oh, you click the thing and you're trying to place it. Oh, you want to rotate. Oh, I can't, and you have to hit escape. Also, we have not added a way to cancel placement. Let's add a list of things here. So rotate object to be placed. Yeah, I kind of want to do that, but that'll be later. To-dos now. Later. Yeah, we do want to do that. Implement rules for object placement. This could just be a stand-in when we do this, and then we can implement the visual feedback stuff. Rotate object to be placed, and I feel like I had another thought, another part of this, and I forgot what it was. What was it? Oh, right, cancel. Or escape. I mean, I could do that, but I don't care about that. So I guess that implies that we do add inputs for rotating and canceling placement. Yeah. What are those keys going to be, though? Right? So right now, we go into project settings, input map. I'm using Q and F because I'm on a Colmac layout. Which means that these will likely change. I will, if I do ever actually get to this point where I want to actually put it up on like itch or something, I don't know. I will probably change the default keys for the vast majority of people that are in QWERTY. But I will go back. You know, I made that template, right? That has all the UI stuff, including like setting up keybinds. So anyway, what am I gonna do for rotating obstacles? Do I want to just like use Shift Q and F? Do I want to change it so the camera rotation is the? I think making the camera rotation be a little more awkward is fine. So Shift F. Oh, that's moved down. Whoops. Rotate left. Shift Q. Hey, Code Void. Hello. How's it going? Welcome. So your first time chatting according to Twitch. Here. How's your Sunday been going? So rotate right, we'll do Shift F. And then we'll add some inputs here. So we want to have placement. What did I call the other one? Oh yeah, place. Okay. Place. Rotate left. Place. Rotate right. It's going good. Just working on things, and yes. Nice. What is the point to a split keyboard? I think ergonomics is the way it's been pitched to me. Of like, um, it's not. Uh, Basically, the idea is that like I can have my hands on the keyboard, and my hands are shoulder width apart, right? So I can like I don't have to like angle my hands in. It's more relaxed, right? And so that's supposed to be more ergonomic. Uh, is the idea? That's the whole idea with like having the tinted keyboard so that it's like curved as well to my hands. And you know, I used a QWERTY keyboard, just a normal like 104 key flat QWERTY keyboard for of different sizes, you know, like little tiny laptop ones and normal like PC ones for decades. I guess technically, 2 decades counts as decades, right? Um, and I never really had any like RSI, you know, repetitive stress injury, carpal tunnel, any of those sorts of things. But I saw this keyboard because Brainless Society here in chat, if he's still around, told me about it. I was like, ooh, that looks cool. I'll try that out. And I've not come back. Never understood use cases for them. I prefer QWERTY keyboards. Sure. Emacs Pinky? Yeah. Brainless is still here. Yeah, um, yeah, Emacs Pinky. That's because you're using control a lot, right? Or something. I don't know. I very rarely used Emacs in the past. Um, but yeah, with this keyboard, I have like it's programmable, right? So it's, you know, with other things you can remap keys and stuff with software, but with this you can program it. And so like I can take this keyboard and plug it into any computer, and the way I have set up the keys, which I chose to set them up this way. This could also be QWERTY if I wanted to, but I have a custom key map, and so like I have backspace right here, right here. I don't even have a caps lock. Tab and backspace, and I have like the tilde engraved key down here. Escape is this key right here. I have to think for a second because it's all just like muscle memory now. All right, so we were making rotate left and rotate right, and then I wanted to place cancel. Cancel. There we go. All right, and then we're gonna bind things to these. So rotate left is gonna be Q, and rotate right is gonna be F, and then cancel is gonna be escape. And yeah, cool. Anyways, well, thanks for dropping by. I imagine I might see you in Sedalix's chat later. That's usually where I'm at after these streams. All right, so we've added inputs for rotating, canceling, placement. That we need to actually implement that. So we just do it. Okay, well, let's. I actually like that comment. Let's do that, and then we'll do handle object placement cancellation. Except it's not cancel placement. I decided to call it place cancel. Yeah, I want that. Are we checking for placeable obstacle in this function? I think one thing is I want to move this down. Down, 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 down. I'm thinking about whether I want to have just like a general if placeable obstacle, right? And then do things. Yeah, let's do that. I think that will be fine. Is it LF? Like in Python? Yes. I have an example of that right here, so why am I even asking? Okay, so if not placeable obstacle, then but see, then we have to repeat ourselves here, unfortunately, right? So to do that, but then we don't have to save this. So we can do that, right? So we have like contextual, we still have like contextual things, right? So if we're placing an obstacle, which we know because we have like a placeable obstacle saved in this variable, then we can handle things, right? So we can do these things. I think what I'll do is I'm gonna do cancel obstacle placement, and we'll implement that. That way we can keep all this logic together, right? And why is it important to keep the logic together? Well, if we don't, then when we change one thing, it will be less obvious that we need to change these other things, right? So if we change something about how we're managing the recast enablement, then it'll be less obvious that we need to change it here. Project place obstacle. If placeable obstacle, then do these things. Just thinking about that for a second. So when the mouse moves, if we have a placeable obstacle, call this. We also call it initially when there isn't a placeable obstacle, but we check to see that I'm confused. Let me save this really quick so we can see what the difference was, because I feel like right. So before we said if excuse me, if we are trying to place the if we've pressed the action, which actually is left click, right? This is left clicking, and we have a placeable obstacle, then we do this. Otherwise, so one of these things is not true. Confused. So if we hold on. What if I just remove this? And then of course we're already checking that placeable obstacle is set. So, which doesn't matter because we don't even reference placeable obstacle. I may just be missing something, but let's see what happens when we run this. Right, can we place? Yeah. Oh, and then escape works. All right. Yeah. Okay, cool. All right, so can we also make right-click cancel placement? Can we add another place cancel mouse button, right mouse button? Yeah, close. Cool. So now if I go in here, I do this and I right-click, it goes away. Yay. Love it. All right, cool. Okay. So we did that. How about we rotate the object? Yeah. So that should be not too bad. Called it place, rotate left. Now, what do we think? I'm not sure why I would wanna. I mean, I guess you could rotate it um, an eighth of a turn. Wait, no, a 16th of a turn, right? Because 2 pi radians is a full 360. But we wouldn't want to do that. We would want to rotate it pi over 2, right? Like we're doing here. Yeah. So yeah, does that work? Yes, it does work. Now what are you gonna do about that? You're gonna route around it. Nice. And then we can still shift Q and F to rotate the camera. No, you don't. And there you go. I think in practice, the way I'm envisioning the actual game to work would be that the placement happens before the enemies start moving. I think. I don't know that I necessarily want the building of defenses to happen while the enemies are going. Maybe so. It is more fast paced. If it is the case that you're like placing defenses as the enemies are going, might want to think about some options to make the enemies a little bit more responsive, right? So they don't just sit there banging their head against the wall. I guess if we do like some animations and stuff, that could look funny and intentional instead of glitchy and laggy. Okay, well, anyway, so to dos, rotate object. That was easy. Uh, obs, obstacle rotation and cancellation. Well, is it later? Do we want to implement rules for object placement and add visual feedback for valid and invalid placement? I think I'll hold off on this. I think it's feeling like I do want to spend more time on this project than I have with the past ones. So in the past, I've just been using Excalidraw to kind of keep a running list of the things that we're doing. But I think what I'm going to do here, so I pushed up those changes, right? Let's refresh the PR. I think what I'll do is I will start creating issues on this repo. To keep track of the things we want to do, right? So this one I need to revisit. I think this was something that because I was playing around with Copilot, uh, uh, coding agent, and having it do things. That's actually where that PR that we were working on started. And it suggested to open an issue to create Copilot instructions. But the thing is that because this is such a new project, uh, I don't think I mean the instructions are okay, but they're pretty general and they don't really talk about. There's just not a lot going on in the game right now, and so they're very focused because there's not a lot to talk about. And also, I imagine the structure of the project is going to change as we mature it. So I don't want to lock in things that are um, not really like I could just clean some stuff up here and just like take out the specific things. But I think I'm just gonna leave this PR for now, and I may just like close it and have like redo it later once we're further along. But what I want to do, the thing I was thinking about is I'm just gonna start tracking issues here for things we want to do. Um, so we want to, and that means that to do that I had written before. I'm gonna take. I'm not gonna cut it because I just merged this PR. So let's actually switch back to main and pull down changes. There we go. I'm gonna bring these things in. And this will be the title of the issue. Implement rules for object placement, right? So add visual feedback for valid and invalid placement. Check for collisions with other obstacles, other placed obstacles. Ensure that the obstacle is placed within the navigation region, i.e. in the playable area. Check for space availability. Maybe some obstacles have clearance requirements. Check that obstacle is not placed on terrain that does not support it. Water, roads. Yeah, so we'll create that issue. And where do we want to go from here? Right? What is... Well, let's look at what's on our whiteboard here. So, enemy spawning, different waves of different timings and different enemy types. Players can add objects at runtime to world, so we've kind of already... technically, we've done that, right? Destructible obstacles. We've not done that yet. Pathing. We did figure out pathing. Cookie clicker style start. I think I will take the remaining things here and create them as issues so that there's a place for me to write down notes so I stop struggling to remember what the idea was here. So the idea with this was start with no defenses that deal damage. You have to click enemies to destroy them. Destroying enemies gives you points. You use points to buy, unlock defenses. That is essentially what I meant by that, those 4 words. and this is like a potentially a big thing, right? I guess where do we start with that is the player can click an enemy to do damage, which requires that the enemies be damageable, which we've not done yet. Do we want to? That might be a good place to start, right? Enemies have HP, and the player can click on enemies to do damage to them. And then have some kind of visual representing hit points on objects and representing them taking damage. Okay. Do I want to create an issue for this? How much time do we have? We got maybe about an hour and a half. I don't know if that'll be enough time to do all the things I'm thinking in this bucket, but it is kind of the next thing to do. So I think I'll create the issue here. Yeah, we can get rid of this buffer. Okay, so what did I say? Enemies have HP. Player can click enemies to damage them. And the idea will be like this will be something that you would theoretically be able to do throughout the game, but it becomes impractical very quickly because we're gonna have the waves of enemies that have more HP and they get harder and this sort of thing. So it becomes impractical to stop the enemies from reaching the target they're trying to destroy and destroying it before you can defeat them all, right? Which means unlike I think that's one thing I will say, like when I say cookie clicker start, like this is not a cookie clicker game where it's like you can just let it run, right? You will lose. But having that sort of like I really like the idea of games where the gameplay transforms over time. Like it starts with something really simple, and then it gets more and more complicated. For some reason, my mind went to Spore, which granted did not fully deliver on the promise of the concept of what it initially was sold as, but that idea is very appealing. But anyway, I digress. Player can click enemies to damage them. Show damage HP stats on enemies and obstacles. Yeah. And then show attack effect. Show damage effect. Right. So an attack effect is I don't know. What is it? Explosion? Fire? I don't know. Damage effect is shaking. I don't know. I don't have a better idea at the moment, but this. All right. Well, how do we do that? A reload from disk. Okay. So, well, we have an enemy. This is our enemy scene. That. Why can't I see anything? Because I'm really zoomed out. Is why. Cool. So we have an enemy. It has a mesh, it has a collision shape, all of these things, right? And it has movement speed, it has a damage, like these are all things about it doing attacks. Do we How do we implement? Suzanne is not the enemy. Well, it, it is a very easy to obtain model, right? So that's what I'm starting with. We'll change it. I swear. I will not make Suzanne the enemy of this game. But currently, the mesh that I'm using for the enemy is this mesh. Um, we could go like get a free one. Did you ever show me your render of your room? I don't think so. I was just thinking I saw a video the other day of someone who did. It was kind of disappointing because it was one of those videos where it was like it obviously it wasn't going to be a tutorial, but it was like a video of someone documenting their journey of learning Blender and the project they used to kind of start Blender beyond, some uh, basically like what I'm doing now, but instead of showing the sauce, like the what they did, um, they just showed the like the state of progress of it. And like, oh well, like imagine if this was a series of, like if this was a YouTube video that I edited down, but I never showed any of the code. I never showed anything but like when I played the game. I mean that's cool, but not really my thing. But yeah, no, I don't think you have. We'll share it on Discord soon, finishing the benchmark. Okay, sure. I'll keep an eye out for that. Yeah, I foresee some streams where we're just doing stuff in Blender in the not too distant future, and that will probably be more and more the case if I keep on doing these game dev streams, because so much of game dev, um, at least I feel like, yeah, there's a lot of art to do, isn't there? Unless we're there's some kind of games we get by with very little art. Anyway, so we have an enemy .gd file, right? Let's get rid of the sidebar. So we have this. And it extends character body 3D. So I could just keep on stacking things here. I feel like there should be a better way. Where we let's look at this, right? So we have this enemy script. We have not obstacle. Where is, oh yeah, target. There we go. And we have target, right? And so target is the currently the thing that we have that has hit points, and it can take damage, and it can die, right? So enemies should also have the same set of things, the same kind of interface. Modular approach was good efficiency wise, same timing with digits reversal, 25% better than string reversal. Memory wise, digits reversal is 28 more percent more memory. String reversal 107% worse. Interesting. So there's something I've definitely seen, and I'm just like struggling to recall the approach. Is this something we did on a past game? Like there's like a compositional approach. Let's see. Fortunately, I can find all my game ones because they all start with Godot. Minesweeper, Breakout, Pong. Oh yeah, and this we didn't really have HP. We just had kind of like, are we powered up or not? we kind of like, we didn't do the thing that I'm thinking of here. Oh, that's NPC, right? We want to look at slime. Okay, so I think the answer is no. I've not done this, what I'm trying to think of before. Godot, composition, pattern, hit points. And then we have an AI overview. Yeah, like a health component, right? And then it has a signal, and then yeah, how hurt box component. Um, like if you hit something and it's damaging. I don't think we'll do that. In your main entity scene, add instances of health component, hurt box components, child nodes. Hurt box, assign health component path to health component node with the same scene. In the main entity script, connect the died signal with health component to the handle actions. But how does take damage get called on the health component? Oh, right. So you look for. Oh, I see. Right. So you have some logic that looks for a child component of a particular type. Get node health component path. Health component path is passed to health component. Godot's design philosophy. Let's take a look at that. Godot design flaw inheritance versus composition. How to efficiently query and use component-based nodes in Godot, right? So composition uses various functional components. Doesn't seem to provide an efficient way to filter a query for these components. Let's see. Yeah, and this is the kind of thing we're doing right now, where we check to see if does the target thing have a certain method, and if it does, we call it. What I am trying to avoid doing is I guess we could. No, I mean, the thing is that to do it that way, I would essentially, like on the player, or not the player, in this instance, it would be like the target or the enemy, put a function on them, and then that function would know the component that's inside of it that we attach that then has the logic. It's a very broad statement. Yep. I mean, this is true, right? That I can make this bigger, right? That by making it where you're just checking, hey, does it have a method with this name? Then you essentially are saying that name has a meaning, and that meaning, you don't have an efficient way of preventing yourself from accidentally using a method of the same name on something else that you don't mean to. Obviously, when I have like a couple hundred lines of code, it's such a small project, it's not a big deal, but this is true. Layers and masks. Yeah. You do things like this. We have something like this. Hmm. In short, I just want to think about this a little bit before I dive head in. Oh, this is interesting. Yeah, different base classes. That was something that I was thinking about here, right? So like target extends mesh instance 3D because it's just the mesh instance and then it has some things that we're keeping track of. It doesn't even have collision because it's expected that the agents are going to like get within range of it. So collision isn't even a thing. Versus the enemy, it's a character body 3D. It has mesh and it has all these other things in it, right? So it has a different base class. So it's not like, and this is the composition over an inheritance thing, right? So we can't just have a base class that has our hit point stuff that these things can inherit from, because we need to extend different unrelated classes to get the things that we need. Yeah. Discover that by using the node's metadata, we can bypass this binding entirely. Later, okay. Interesting. So here's an example where they have a class property component, which is a node. It has a health. It has a ready that gets the parent in it. Ah. Oh, there's a thought. I don't know about set meta, but I feel like I've seen something like this where you attach a child to a parent and the child instruments the parent to point back to itself. Okay. Yeah. Add a script to each node that needs components to handle. Yeah. Yeah. Makes sense. Sure. Okay. So that's some interesting thoughts there. Uh, yeah. Fundamentally, this is what I want to do, of like create a node that represents the thing that we want to track, like health. It has a script, and then add that node as a child of everything that should have health. Mm-hmm. Oh, neat, Brainless. That. Just looking at the preview without like expanding the images, looks like it could be a photograph. Like if you would have told me that's just a photo, I would believe you. No worries. That's how things are with my current audio setup. Now, looking at the clicking into the image, the way the blanket, the fold it has, and there's something about like the door handle. Like the foreground blur makes sense from like a photographic perspective, but there's something maybe not quite right about it. It was a long process of CD and trying to make it look good. Yeah, I think you could spend an infinite amount of time on those sorts of things. Let's see the second one. You have a little bit of bezel. There's something about so I think that's supposed to be like a screen or a TV, right, on the wall in the second image. There's something about the quality of the image that doesn't quite, I mean, now this is I may be seeing things that aren't actually a thing just because I know it's a render. But yeah, no, this is cool. It's better than anything I've ever done in Blender. Thanks for sharing. The sheep pattern was done by hand on Inkscape. Nice. Yeah, I don't know that I've really thought about it before, but I was watching a video where it is basically someone trying to pitch their asset library, I think is what it was. But they were like showing off how they had these cameras and lighting rigs to be able to get materials, to like light them so fully that there wouldn't be any shadow or anything. So then you would have that as a texture for a material, and then you'd be able to add your own stuff on top of it. Yeah. All right. So. I guess what I'm trying to figure out right now is how do we make it so that how do we make it so that we have some means of let's see. So the enemy at some point will have a target, right? And this target will be a node 3D in the world that it wants to attack, and it wants to call hit on. But the behavior that is triggered by this method lives in a reusable node that we attach to the thing that has the method that we're calling. And there is, I mean, we could definitely just make the method on the target and have it call a export that or it calls a node that's inside of it, and something like that. I don't know that there's a better way, unless I guess we make a pair of nodes, kind of similar to the hitbox, like the hurtbox and hitbox in the one example that I had pulled up earlier, where the logic for finding each other is baked into them, and then Like instead of this script saying current target dot hit, what we really do is we say we have a we have an attack, right? So we do like a on ready var attack is some node that lives inside of this under the enemy. And Twitch wants to run ads, so probably gonna put a pause in this, which gives me a second or two, well, a minute or two to think a little bit more about this, but this might work. So I'm gonna take a break here for a couple minutes. We'll come back.